Good evening, everybody, or afternoon, Virginia. This is 4 o'clock on Thursday. It'll be the last time we get together this week. And remember that we are going to get through this, and we are going to get through it together. I want to start the way we start most of our days, by focusing on some good news. Remember, it's easy to get down during these times. The isolation or the change in our lives that has gone on longer than I think we thought that it would can hurt and damage our mental health. But one way that we ensure that we fight back against that is to make sure that we know about all the good things that are going on in our state and in our world around us. So even in tough times, I want to put a spotlight on good news. And today, let's start with an announcement we made earlier this week. It's a new partnership with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce that's going to help us build a better Kentucky, one with a stronger post-COVID economy and good-paying career opportunities for our state's residents. The new partnership is called the Discover Kentucky Initiative, and it will grow European company investment and jobs in our Commonwealth. This is how it works. Many internationally based companies are interested in the U.S. market, but they aren't ready to commit to building a factory, establishing an office, or setting up a sales operation. Team Kentucky, through its office in Hamburg, Germany, is often in touch with companies just like this. The Discover Kentucky Initiative will vet these inquiring companies and work with them in 3 ways to seed the ground for long-term economic success. First, the initiative will introduce Kentucky Chamber member businesses to these inquiring European companies. Second, it'll foster relationships with these European businesses through regular check-in and assessments. It'll build a relationship, and we'll maintain Kentucky as a top-of-mind location for the time when each company is ready to invest in a U.S. operation. And third, it'll ensure continuity of these relationships. Sometimes it may take more than just the tenure of one governor, and we want to make sure that our efforts to bring in good jobs from Europe in this instance, I want to make sure it lasts long after I'm gone. Through this partnership with the Chamber, we are taking advantage of how the pandemic is changing business. Companies that may not have considered developing their products in the U.S., manufacturing or selling here, are now seeing the new value for global diversification. We know this works too. Economic development often hinges on relationships. That's why in any given year, about 3/4 of all the projects we announce are expansions of companies already in the Commonwealth. European companies today operate more than 220 facilities in Kentucky, employing more than 37,000 people full-time. Those facilities often form the economic backbones of communities across Kentucky, and each of those successes starts with a relationship. We're hungry in Kentucky. We feel the urgency of improving our economy, our way of life, and what's out there for our children. I'm a 43-year-old governor. I'm going to live in and work in the economy that I help to create and or improve as governor. And my kids are too. So that means doing everything we can every day through Team Kentucky, partnering with everybody who's out there that wants to generate these great opportunities. I want to get to the time when our kids look around at different places and they would say, why would I leave when the best opportunities in the United States are right here in Kentucky? I think that's possible, and I'm committed to making it happen. I'd like to thank the Chamber for its leadership, board and member companies for working with Team Kentucky on the initiative. Together, we're planting the seeds that are going to grow our post-COVID economy into something that we've always dreamed of. We also have some good news today for Eastern Kentucky. I'm excited to announce an Appalachian Regional Commission grant totaling more than $500,000 for Hazard Community and Technical College to expand their commercial driver's licensing program. These funds will allow for 6 classes of CDL students at HCTC's main campus and 6 classes at the Leslie County campus, training 150 students a year. This expansion comes at a great time when the transportation and logistics industry is growing. We have seen its importance during COVID, and the demand for licensed commercial drivers is increasing in Eastern Kentucky. HCTC will use the funds to purchase 2 new trucks and trailers, program supplies, and provide salaries for 1 full-time instructor and for 4 adjunct instructors. Students at HCTC's Utility Lineman program also will benefit from the expansion because they must obtain CDL license to graduate from their program. Thanks to this project, we're going to train more Kentuckians for jobs that are out there right now that are in demand, that can pay good wages, and we can get more of our people to work right now. Congratulations to Hazard Community and Technical College on this exciting grant, and thank you to everybody who made it possible. Because of your work, Eastern Kentuckians will have greater access to education and good jobs in their communities, both of which are top priorities for this administration. All right, let's move into our COVID report. Our COVID report continues to have good news in everything but our number of deaths, which continues to be high, difficult, and tragic. Let's start with the positive trends. Today, we're announcing 2,500 cases, new cases of COVID-19. That is a high number, but it is the lowest Thursday we've had in over 4 weeks. And if we stay on this track, we're going to have fewer cases this week than we did last week, which will give us 4 straight weeks for the first time in this pandemic of declining cases. So cases are too high, but the trend is some of the best we have seen during the pandemic. Generally, hospitalization numbers are all within the realm where we have sufficient capacity, and that's good news. It means that we can take care of those that need our help. Our positivity rate is down to 8.37%, the lowest since December 28th, meaning the lowest in over a month. We only have 104 red counties today. Who would have thought with 120 counties we'd be excited about 104? But that number is dropping day after day after day. And just to give you an idea of cases, when we look back about 4 weeks, so today I said we have 2,500 new cases. On January 11th, it was 4,084. So again, a good trend. When we look at new cases by county, today we have 400 in Jefferson, 165 in Fayette, 162 in Kenton, 138 in Boone, 112 in Madison, and the others are on kycovid19.ky.gov. But then there's our tough news in that today we're announcing 58 new deaths where COVID-19 was a contributing factor. This is one of the higher numbers that we have had. If there is any positive in these death numbers, it's that a smaller and smaller percent of them are residents in long-term care. Of today's 58, only 18 were in long-term care, which when you think about, we used to be at 66% of all fatalities being in long-term care, shows you that our prioritization of individuals in long-term care for vaccination is working and it's saving lives, but we are still losing far too many. And I hope this reminds everybody of how dangerous this virus is. Mask up, protect one another, protect yourself and your family. Follow the rules and the regulations. We don't want to lose 58 people on any given day. And now we're at 3,921 deaths since the start of this pandemic. We just memorialized our 3,000th death not long ago by planting flags out here at the Capitol. We add to that every day. Going from 3,000 to 4,000 so quickly is a trend that we have to stop. We certainly need to slow it down, and each and every one of you can help by doing your part. Today's loss include an 85-year-old man from Ballard, 6 individuals from Boone County, 5 men ages 52, 67, 70, 72, and 74. They're all men. An 86-year-old woman from Bourbon, 79-year-old woman from Bullitt, 88-year-old woman, and a 92-year-old man from Davis County. In Fayette County, we lost 3 women, ages 58, 70, and 80, 2 men, ages 76 and 86. In Franklin County, 2 women, ages 84 and 94. In Gallatin County, a 74-year-old woman. In Graves County, a 77-year-old woman and an 85-year-old man. In Harlan County, a 69-year-old man. In Hart County, a 75-year-old man. In Jefferson County, 3 men, the first age 38, the next age 59, and the last age 76. 5 individuals from Kenton County, a 97-year-old woman, and men ages 68, 69, 85, and 97. A 78-year-old man in Lawrence County. I believe it's 7 individuals from Letcher County, and sometimes these are over several weeks. The women are ages 82, 85, 87, and 96, and men age 63, 66, and 67. 89-year-old woman in Metcalf, 70-year-old man in Montgomery. 2 individuals in Oldham County, a 78-year-old woman and a 39-year-old man. In Perry County, 2 women ages 71 and 85. In Pike, 4 individuals. The 2 women are 78 and 79. The 2 men were 73 and 89. 2 individuals in Pulaski County, a 69-year-old woman and a 76-year-old man. A 66-year-old woman in Rockcastle. A 70-year-old man in Russell. An 80-year-old man in Shelby. A 77-year-old woman in Simpson. A 67-year-old man in Taylor. And 2 individuals in Wayne. I think we had 2 in Wayne yesterday too. 2 men ages 65 and 80. So let's remember that each one of those entries I read is a person loved by their family, missed by their community, maybe their congregation. Somebody who was so important, that was loved, and that we will miss. Today, we're specifically honoring the life of Tommy Spiegel of Waco, Kentucky, who was age 96. She passed away on Saturday after battling COVID-19. We received a touching tribute from her daughter, her caregiver in her later years, sharing how she was the most wonderful mother, grandmother, sister, aunt, and friend. She lived a full life of adventure, living across the country with family members until she met her first husband, Newell Edward Bridewell, who passed away from cancer in 1981. Following that loss, she found love again with John Spiegel. She overcame challenges in life such as a speech impediment that halted her education, yet went on to have a great career and was an avid reader and poem writer. She was also very active in her church, Rice Station Christian in Irvine. Today, our prayers are with her daughter, Beverly Moorfield, her 2 sons, Paul Bridewell and William Bridewell, her stepdaughter, Sandy Curl, her stepson, J.C. Spiegel, 6 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. A wonderful life. And while I'm sure it was a full life, it's not okay that it was cut short by COVID-19. This is someone with a big, large, wonderful family that is really hurting today and has been hurting since her passing. So let's think about them. Let's think about her. And let's make sure we mask up for one another. Long-term care, continuing to show what we believe are positive signs from the vaccination program. Today, 24 new residents testing positive, 20 staff, just 2 new deaths attributable to long-term care. These numbers are and their daily amounts are changing really significantly, which I think is a ray of hope in what are otherwise really tragic, difficult numbers of deaths that we're seeing each day. All right, let's get on to what I believe is other good news, and that's our vaccination efforts. Can we show our chart showing our efficiency? Wanted to make sure we walked you through again the fact that certainly for the past 4 weeks, we are vaccinating more people than we get first doses for. In other words, we are already at the point where we have more capacity than we have supply. And the reason that so many out there can't get appointments is just a matter of supply. This shows that we're filling every appointment that we can possibly put a vaccine in someone's arm for. And I want to show you, if you get on these every day, there's always going to be one day where you see the most doses available and one day where you see the least. And here's the reason. We get our shipments on Monday and they become available for vaccination on Tuesday, and they come in a lump sum. So all the new supply for a week goes in on Tuesday, and obviously you can't vaccinate everybody immediately for that supply. And as you go through the week, we end up burning through that full supply. And I wanted to show you this today because with the new amount that we got this week, 68,475, we've already gone through 42% of it in 2.5 days because this report cuts off at about noon. So this is just Tuesday, Wednesday, and half of Thursday. So again, we have the capability. We're getting it out within a week. In fact, we're doing more. We're making up for some extra that we had from earlier weeks as we ramped up. The issue here is supply. Now, I want to give you one other piece of good news. You look down there and you see 401,264 Kentuckians that have had their first shot through one of either the state program or the long-term care program that the federal government contracted with Walgreens and CVS. But those aren't the only Kentuckians that are receiving doses from other places. The federal government is also providing doses to the Bureau of Prisons, to VAs, to Department of Defense workers. And today we got numbers that in addition to the 401,264 that have been vaccinated through the programs we've talked about, another 31,402 Kentuckians have been vaccinated according to the federal government from those other, it is 18,244. The vast majority of that, of the 18,244, are from the VAs that have vaccinated almost 16,000 Kentuckians. So we appreciate that. So when you add it in, we're at about 419,500, just a little over that, Kentuckians that have had at least their first dose. We are really close to 10% of our total population that's been vaccinated. And certainly when you remove 18 and under or 16 and under that can't be vaccinated, that's about 1 million people. So the numbers are better there. But again, everything we're getting in people's arms. We're also working to be intentional, knowing that we need an equitable rollout of this vaccine, but that also there is real hesitancy out there. We're not being impacted right now by that hesitancy in scheduling appointments. But if we want to get to immunity, and if we want to make sure underserved populations and other groups are getting vaccinated at the rate that they should, that other populations are, we know we have to be addressing this on the front end. And that's why we do some programs where people who are trusted by their communities, we ask to take the vaccine so that they can be a real life example and to share with their community that this is safe. So during this last week, we have had 2 separate times where we've had faith leaders that have come to Frankfort, that have been vaccinated, and that are sharing their stories with their flocks, talking about the safety of it. It's been a special experience. They helped us plant the flags today to honor the newly lost. But to see people who have also dedicated their lives to service, stepping up and wanting to show people that it's safe. James put together a short video. Let's give it a look. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Barbara Hager, the pastor of Broadway Temple AME Zion Church in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm Bishop John Stowe of the Catholic Diocese of Lexington.
Hello, I'm Barnetta Cosby from St. Stephen Baptist Church.
Rabbi Shlomo Litvin, Chabad of the Bluegrass.
Hi, my name is Philip Lasbeach. I'm with the Presbyterian Church USA. I just got my first vaccine shot.
Hey, you all, I did it. I just got my shot, and I think you should too.
I just received my vaccination for COVID-19 and hope all of our faithful will do the same.
I just got my vaccination, and I'm encouraging everyone to get theirs whenever possible.
I just received my first dose of the Moderna vaccine, and I'm encouraging each of you to do the same so that we can protect one another and our communities.
Trust is an integral part of the medical process. And today, we're working with the governor to inspire that trust in the community. So I got my vaccine, I hope you get yours, and trust the process, believe in your community, and together we can get through this.
This promotes the common good and helps us to promote a healthier Kentucky.
And I encourage everybody to go out and get it as soon as it's offered to you, because that's our way to get back serving God in the way that we want to.
Governor Beshear has done a wonderful job in leading our community to think about each other. He has personalized the many losses that our state has experienced through COVID, and is trying to keep us on one team in one place as one community to make our state, our Commonwealth more healthy and to overcome this terrible challenge.
You guys, we're almost through this pandemic, but we have to stay vigilant. The pandemic is still on the rise. Please wear your mask, social distance, stay safe out there.
Be sure to mask up, Kentucky.
Al, it was exciting and moving, and having over the course of those two events, 50 different faith leaders that together reach hundreds of thousands of people was truly special. This is also something that came out of community conversations that we had about how to build trust and how we can build trust, especially in communities that we need to reach, and that in the past haven't been treated right in vaccination efforts. And if I can, when a video's playing, is the one time I actually get to watch Virginia. You do a amazing job in conveying the emotion, and I know that's why Kentucky loves you so much. All right, in other good news, we continue to fill out our map on regional and local vaccination sites. I want to show you the map as we announced it last Thursday, which shows you some of the larger sites. Can we bring that one up? There we go. This was last Thursday when we announced the Horse Park site, Ephraim McDowell, and our two Paducah sites. And this was already creating a lot of options for everybody to get online, to get on our website, and to know where their regional vaccination site is. Today, I'm going to announce 4 new sites. I'll tell you about them in a minute, but let's go to the next map. And this is how it'll impact it. You can see Northern Kentucky. You can see Bowling Green. You can see Callaway County. You can see Glasgow, Barron County there. But after I'm done announcing the new regional centers, Dr. Stack's going to talk to you about the local health department program. And when you overlay that, here's what it looks like. As you can see, the map is filling up. And each one of those red pins is a local health department that has brick and mortar places in every county in their region. This is going to provide vaccine all over Kentucky. There will be limited numbers depending on the size of the entity that's getting it. But I hope that you see, I mean, we're building this airplane as we're flying it. The airplane's starting to look really good. And our efficiency of the airplane is already over 100%. But this, when you look at it, it's the structure we've got to have for the amount of supply that we want. If we were just happy having a structure that could administer the amount of supply we had right now, shame on us for not working to be ready for that moment when we can get hundreds of thousands of vaccines to get out to Kentuckians. Our goal is to be able to far exceed what we think we can do today, which is about 250,000 vaccines a week, to get that number significantly up to where if they gave us enough vaccine for our entire population, Our hope is that we could do it in matters of weeks. That would be the greatest problem that we could ever ask for. So let's talk first about our new regional sites. First, with our partnership with Kroger, we're launching 2 new sites. The first is in the Kentucky Convention Center. That is at 1 West River Center Boulevard in Covington. That's an exciting area, which, as you can see here, will begin Thursday and run through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The second Kroger regional site is in Bowling Green at the Kroger Greenwood Mall, which is the former Sears site, 2625 Scottsville Road. Both sites open Thursday, Friday, Saturday of this coming week, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The portals will go live around 5 p.m., which follow rolling 7-day appointments. You go to Kroger.com/COVID vaccine, or you call 866-211-5320. Appointments can also be reached by going through kycovid19.ky.gov and clicking on the vaccine bar. So 2 new sites. They're going to help us in areas when you heard the numbers of new cases today. 2 of our northern Kentucky counties were over 100 new cases. The other one was in the 70s. We're excited about this partnership. Local leaders have been great about helping us to put this together. Now remember, there's going to be a lot of vaccine coming there, but it is still very limited and based on the number of people who want to get vaccinated. But this is building out our ability in northern Kentucky and in Bowling Green as supply ramps up to get it out very quickly. Our third regional center today is a partnership with Murray State University, which is going to be using the CFSB Center, an 8,500-seat arena on the MSU, Murray State University campus, where men and women's basketball play. That's 1401 State Route 121 in Murray. It's going to be Wednesday, February 10th will be the first day, 8 a.m. to noon, and then it'll be Wednesday, the 17th, 8 a.m. to noon. They believe they're going to be able to get through all the appointments that they have during that period of time. The MSU site will be on the website map, and the drop-down menu will have the website URL and phone, but Kentuckians in the region can also visit www.callawayhealth.org or call 270-753-3381. Murray State University partners include Callaway County Health Department, Murray State University, Murray Callaway County Hospital, Dr. Bob Hughes, the Chief Medical Officer of Murray State University, and of Village MD Kentucky, the City of Murray, and Callaway County. This is really everybody in that county and in that region coming together. Fourth and final new regional site this week is a partnership with TJ Regional Health. That's at the TJ Health Pavilion, 301 North L. Rogers Boulevard, Glasgow, Kentucky. Day and hours are still being determined, but Kentuckians should check on their website soon for more information. Their phone number is 270-659-1010. And let's put up again that final map, the third one. And as you take a look, this is our continued commitment to ensure that you don't have to drive more than 1 county away to get your vaccine. Now, we're not fully there yet, but we're going to continue to work on it. And if you look through the progression of where we even were a week ago, and you look at where we are now, you see how this is coming together. So bear with us, but most importantly, have patience. We've got to vaccinate 3+ million people in this Commonwealth, and we're getting now 68,000 doses a week. You can do the math, and you know that getting an appointment is going to be hard for a period of time. But as more of the group that you are in gets vaccinated, the more likely it is that you're going to get an appointment. And by putting together this structure, that's going to help us to ultimately vaccinate people more quickly. Dr. Stack's also going to be talking today about the federal pharmacy program, which is going to add several thousand additional doses each week through that program. So we will have And when we think about it, our regular state program, you saw that map. We have our long-term care program that's still running and that's going to start serving other senior living facilities. We'll have the federal program through the VAs and their Bureau of Prisons, and we're going to have the federal pharmacy program as well. We're going to work to compile all those numbers. They're not all reported directly to us so that we can try to give you the most accurate picture of how many Kentuckians are being vaccinated and through what programs and how the efficiency of those programs are working. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stack to talk about a number of things, to talk about the federal pharmacy program, to talk about the local health department program, and to tell you not to have big Super Bowl parties.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Governor Beshear. If we could put up the Super Bowl slides, we'll start with that first. You know, it's interesting as I was thinking about talking with you this afternoon and the Super Bowl comes up. Until I took this job, I was an emergency physician and working in the ER. And I think in my 20 years of emergency medicine, I probably worked at least 17 or 18 of those years on Super Bowl Sunday. So this is a different year for me to be a health commissioner, not an ER doc on Super Bowl Sunday. So I hope you enjoy the game, but it takes an effort like the slide says. If you can move on to the next slide, please. Before you go out to try to enjoy the game, please remember this. The current recommendations are still 8 people max in 2 different households max. We need to not mix and match different families. That's how we get super spreader events and have the virus start to take off again. So the governor celebrated with us that we could have our 4th week in a row that's a decline. Let's keep it that way. Let's not supercharge it with Super Bowl parties. So enjoy the game, but do it in a small group. And make sure when you do that, you maintain your 6 feet of social distancing and that you wear your mask at all times and that you don't have food and drink and sit around a small table and do, or in a small living room and do the things that we used to do and enjoy, not just yet, not during the pandemic. So please follow the guidelines. Next slide, please. Here are those guidelines. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance 6 feet or more, and please stay home if you're sick. If you are feeling sick, if you have a fever, if you have any symptoms that imply a cold or COVID or the flu, stay home. Don't get together with others. You'll keep yourself and everyone else safer. And please, here again is another way to look at this. Celebrate safely, enjoy the game, but enjoy it in a small group and ideally in the privacy of your own home. So let's move on now to vaccine items. If we could put the 3 maps up, please. I'm going to use the ones the governor just finished with. So there is so much to celebrate with the vaccines, but it is an incredible logistical challenge to do this. So I want to, again, retell this story and then pick up where the governor left off. This is where we started last week. And remember, this was an add-on from where we started a few weeks earlier when we built out a hospital network to try to help healthcare professionals, healthcare personnel get access to vaccine. So if you move to the next slide, the governor showed how we added a few more, 4 more this week, green dots on the map to put in some regional centers. And we're going to continue to try to work to fill in some of those gaps with a few more of those next week, if at all possible. While we're doing that, though, this is one approach. So while you go big in some ways, you also try to go small and do higher touch in other ways. So if we could show the last slide, this is where I'll pick up the governor's story. What this shows, highlighted in the various colors, are the 61 health departments in the state of Kentucky that service the 120 counties. This complexity is glorious when you think about local control and local customization. It also adds for a lot of complexity when you try to operationalize a program across the state. So the 61 leaders of these health departments are my friends and colleagues over this journey this past year. And so all of them and all of their health departments are going to now receive a steady supply of vaccine so they can plan and prepare over the next 3 weeks. Now, remember, the Biden administration has said we'll have 3 weeks of clarity for the quantities of vaccine we're going to receive. That's up from the 1 week we used to have. So that's an improvement. It's still challenging. So the commitment to all the local health departments has been for a 3-week period for February 8th, February 15, and February 22. they are going to receive a stable supply of vaccine in order to do specific community outreach in their specific area. So now all 120 counties are going to be serviced through their local health departments over these next 3 months, the rest of February. Now, if we could show the final slide, James, please. So I've tried to be as transparent as I can be as we've gone through this journey. The way we did this, and I'll just tell you, the quantities are insufficient. The vaccine quantity overall is not enough for the task, but it is still incremental progress. And so we are going to give 100 doses per 1% of population for every county, rounded up to a minimum of 100 because that's the smallest shipment size. And so now every county will at least get 100 doses of vaccine, or the portion of 1% of 100 doses per 1% of population rounded to the next 100. And they've all been informed of that. I have regular calls with the local health departments and my colleagues, and so they're all aware of this for next week and the next 3 weeks. So thank you to our local health department leaders for all the work they do to support their local communities. I'm very grateful to be sharing this journey with you and for your support. If we can, you can take that down. And now I'm going to talk about the federal pharmacy program. This will bring additional inventory or vaccine inventory into the state. It's not part of the state allocation. The federal government will ship out 1 million doses nationwide. That's going to total up to about 13 to 13,500 doses for the state of Kentucky. The federal government picked the pharmacy partners. So Walgreens will be one of them. And then independent pharmacies operating under the Good Neighbor brand will be the other ones. And they may be named other local names. They're all independent pharmacies, so they have different names perhaps in your local community. We think there will be about 80 to 100 Walgreens stores and about 45 to 50 of these local independent pharmacies. In aggregate, they'll have a little over 13,000 doses of vaccine. And we are told that as soon as next Thursday, they may be able to start operating. We think they'll have about 100 doses of vaccine per pharmacy, and this will be much closer in your community. Now, I want to give you a few other statistics. You got to put this in perspective. I know it feels like you can't get access if you want to. 2 examples. One health department had 110,000 telephone calls in 2.5 hours to access their 700 vaccines. That's 157 calls per dose available, okay? Now, that sounds like a lot. It's harder than getting a concert ticket, perhaps. 170,000 people called to reach 300 doses of vaccine at another location. That's 566 calls for 1 dose. Folks, they're vaccinating. They're using it as quickly and as efficiently as they can. There's only so much to go around. Please be patient with them. And please, if you are not in the highest phases, the 1A, the 1B, the folks who are highest risk for getting the disease or highest risk for serious harm from it, please don't try to falsify your information to get in early. Please don't jump the line. This is a time where someone else may pay with their life because you jumped the line. So please don't jump the line. Let the folks who are the current phase and priority go first. The current focus is on people 70 and over. We've reached over 150,000 people. I'm pretty confident as I stand here and tell you this today. We've got about 500,000 folks who's 70 and over, so there's 350,000 more. And we're going to methodically work through that and make sure that those individuals get access to this so that they can be protected and be spared the greatest risk from this disease. The last thing I wanted to share was just a little perspective. The governor announced we've immunized. I'm confident now because there's also federal agencies, so the VA, federal prisons, and others. When you add what they've done, I'm confident that as I'm talking to you right now, we vaccinated more than 10% of the total citizenry here, so over 450,000 people. So when we pull those numbers together, I think it'll show that. When you think that we are not yet at 11 months after the governor and I stood here and announced to you the very first patient on March 6, 2020, not even 11 months from that day, we have vaccinated nearly or more than 10% of the entire population of the state. I don't know, that is really nothing short of a modern medical miracle. So I know it cannot possibly happen fast enough, but folks, let's please put this in perspective. What has happened is difficult and as hard as this has been on so many people. What has happened has been nothing short of a scientific marvel to accomplish this. And what's helped to make us be able to get through this is that Team Kentucky, by far and away, has pulled together and has rallied despite the difficulties. So please, we got to just hang in there. another 3, 4, 5 months while we get this executed as effectively as we can. And I feel we're going to have better times ahead as we enter the spring and the summer. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And back to you, Governor.
We'll now go to Amy Cubbage, who will give you an update on our efforts to help those still waiting on unemployment, to ferret out the fraud, and to make sure we are developing practices to always do better the next day. Amy?
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon, Virginia. Just one quick note first for claimants. If you were claiming benefits today and saw a strange thing in your claim that the week said 1996 and not 2021, we know about the problem. We fixed that, we believe, by mid-morning. Have no idea what caused it. We are working to make sure that does not interrupt anyone's benefits and that all accounts were corrected. Now, with regards to the Pua extensions, staff are still batch backdating claims as necessary every 48 hours and pushing out pay order cards. So please watch your emails or whatever method of communication you have listed on your claim, and watch the summary page of your claim, which should show the update once it is done. I'm going to talk again quickly about the Bank of America debit cards. I know we've been talking about this several weeks, but it's a very important issue for the claimants who have been receiving benefits using those cards. If you did not change your method of payment to direct deposit by February 1st, you were automatically moved over to paper checks. So your benefits until the new card system is ready to go will be by paper check. If you still have a debit card with funds on it, those need to be spent by February 28th. At that point, if they're not spent, Bank of America will return those to us and we can reissue you a paper card, but it will obviously then mean a delay in your ability to use that money. Anybody who was moved over from the Bank of America card to paper checks should be getting an email this week. Next, I want to talk again about the 1099-G issues that have caused a lot of confusion for people. We got a question at last week's press conference about what to do. What is the IRS going to do if you don't have a corrected 1099? Again, we still encourage you to look at that as soon as you get it so we can correct that for you. But the IRS has now announced if you do not have your corrected 1099-G by the time you need to file your taxes, actually don't file what's on the 1099-G, file what you think is correct. We have that IRS bulletin on our website, on the KCC website under Identity Theft Tips. So feel free to look at that and get some more information about what to do if you are in that situation. And we understand this is confusing, that we have thousands of people this year who drew UI for the first time. So we know you're not used to seeing the 1099-G, and we also know that it's confusing that when you look into the system, it doesn't show how much you got under the FPUC program for the extra $600 or doesn't show the LWA extra $400. So we have gotten over 1,000 emails to the 1099 question email. And the majority of the time, they have been just this misunderstanding issue. So please check those FAQs that we have out there for you. Of course, we are happy to help you out on the email line, but most of the time it's a simple misunderstanding. We do have one additional source of confusion, and it's something we are working through with the affected employers and employees. Is early in the pandemic when we had lots of mass filings by large employers, and this would have affected Ford and Toyota, Keeneland, several others. When an employer does a mass filing, they upload information about employees that are being laid off, but the employee has to go in and claim that claim. Early on, in an effort to get benefits out faster, we were paying automatically. So what has happened here for some of these employees, and if you're in that boat, this may explain what's happened. You may have gotten 2 weeks of benefits and not realized it. It may have come to you on a debit card that you didn't know what it was. You thought it was junk mail. You threw it out. We are working through those issues to get those benefits now reversed and canceled, and to get the 1099 you may have received canceled. So if you believe you are in that boat, please email that email that we had set up. It was, I know I'll say it wrong if I don't say it again, so we'll put that up in just a minute, but I believe it is KYOU1099@ky.gov. So you can email there and get those questions answered if you think you have that mass claim issue. One last couple of issues about fraud and ID verifications. We've been talking a lot about the load of fraud and the just mass numbers of fraudulent claims we have had over the course of the pandemic, and particularly recently with the PUA extension. Just as an example, someone filed a PUA claim in my name last week, and I got my notice of potential benefits in the mail. It was obviously fraudulent, but our ID verification caught that, which is good news. But it also means we have a lot of claims we get that are fraudulent. We have sent an email out to over 68,000 claimants on Tuesday, letting them know their claims are being denied because we can't validate their IDs. These are older claims where people have had time to upload those documents and haven't. Now, if you got that email and you are a real live claimant, you are not a fraudster, you just haven't ever uploaded your documents. When you get your notice of determination, please pay very careful attention to the appeal deadlines in that document. You can appeal that determination of denial and give your ID validation at that time. So please, we understand there is a lot of fraud out there. If you get one of those fraudulent filings, just like I did this past weekend, you can email uifraud@ky.gov, and we will make sure to mark that in the system as a fraudulent claim. And that's it for today.
All right, we will move to questions. We'll start with Stu Johnson from WEKU.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. Unfortunately, you announced 58 deaths today, and you have talked previously about deaths following surges. It's been now a little over a month since the holidays, and we've had declining cases the last 4 weeks and less deaths in nursing homes. Is there something else that's contributing to these losses?
Well, we're certainly seeing deaths from the surge we had leading up to the holidays, from the holiday bump itself, but we are also having our committee get through more of the deaths where they are evaluating them to ensure that COVID-19 was a factor. In today's list, they're not, most of them are from January. Some of them are from December, and there may be one or two that are from November. It's important that we get it right, and that where COVID-19 was a factor, that it is recorded as such based on the guidelines that we've been given from the federal government about what to include. But this is also something we're seeing all over the United States. We're seeing decrease in cases, but we are still seeing deaths remaining at really high levels. In some places, I think that was having the healthcare system overwhelmed. Here, I think it's just that we had so many cases so quickly when we surged up in that stair-stepper chart that we're still paying the price for it. We got to make sure it doesn't happen again. Catherine Collins from WLEX.
Hi, Governor. I hope you can hear me okay. We have had reports of people having a smooth testing experience, but being a little bit concerned that there may not be as many people getting tested. Has there been a drop-off in Kentucky of testing, and might that be contributing to declining case numbers?
So we believe that testing has stayed relatively stable. There's certainly some areas where we were doing more institutional testing that we're now doing a little bit less because folks there have been vaccinated. Our PCR tests are remaining pretty stable, and we're seeing a declining positivity rate. And the declining positivity rate tells us that the drop is real. Anything to add, Steve?
The fact that the positivity is dropping, even if the numbers are going down,
Right.
drop in positivity.
Right. So he just added that the drop in positivity shows us that this drop is real, and at least the trend is right that we're seeing of decreasing cases. The people getting tested or not getting tested may always change the numbers because we would know about a positive if somebody didn't. But what we can do using that positivity rate is confirm that the trend is accurate and that the positivity rate is mirroring that drop in cases. Kristen Shanahan from WDRB. Do we have Kristen?
Hi, Governor. I'm here. A couple questions for you. With these new sites, how many doses of vaccine will be going to them? Will the site in Lexington be getting any more? And are there any plans to get a Kroger-run site set up in Louisville? And if so, when could that happen?
So I'll answer the last one, and then Dr. Stack can do the first. Right now in Louisville, the Broadbent Arena site still has capacity that it can add. It's doing a really good job. And that's why we don't see a second site yet. Now, we are talking to the federal government about another site in Louisville. I'd like to see it over in Shawnee Park, where we had a very successful testing site. But the reason that you haven't seen a second right now is Louisville on its own. Obviously working with us and others created a really good model that was actually just featured on the front page of the New York Times. Really well-run operation that still has the ability for more. Dr. Stack?
These locations that we operate with Kroger can scale up and can do 1,000 or more, well, actually a couple thousand of people a day or more if they were able to get enough vaccine, but they're not able to get that vaccine. So the Horse Park schedules 3,000 appointments. The Covington Kroger location will schedule 2,000. The Bowling Green Kroger location will schedule 2,000. These Murray site and the Glasgow TJ Sampson site will start out at 500 first doses. Now, remember, when they start at that per week, all this is per week. Thanks, Governor. So all of that is first doses. So then 4 weeks later or 3 weeks, whether it's Pfizer or Moderna, they have to ramp up to double that. So if a site like the Broadbent Arena is doing 5,000 or 6,000 first doses a week consistently, that means they have to be able to do 12,000 doses a week if they're at steady state. And the same thing at the University of Kentucky site. They're consistently doing probably about 6,000 first doses a week and can go up to 12,000 to do the second doses. So those places get pretty busy pretty quickly. But let me just compliment those sites. I haven't had a chance to go out. I don't go out in public all that much and see these things. But people say there's joy, there's happiness. I think it's people feel they have the ability to take a positive, proactive step and actually do something actively to make it better instead of just sort of hide from the disease. So these are places where there's a lot of happy people. So remember, even though it's going to take longer than we want because of the quantities, we're going to build this network out. And as we get more vaccine, be ready to deploy it efficiently.
Karen Czar from WUKY.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm actually doing a story with the Better Business Bureau about what Amy Covich was speaking about today. They're starting to get a lot of those calls from people saying they've gotten a letter from UI saying your unemployment money is coming and they never applied for it. They're referring them to the fraud hotline. Is there anything else they need to be aware of to protect themselves? And what happens if they are to get a check? Do they just tear it up or should they send it back to UI? Thank you so much.
Karen, thank you for that question because I had somebody close to me receive one of these letters too. And I initially read it as money was coming. And as I brought it into Amy, I learned that that was not the case, but she can walk through it.
Yeah, those letters unfortunately can be very confusing. It reads as if that money is coming, and really all it means is if you ultimately qualify, this is the amount you would qualify for. So far, all that I have looked into and that have contacted me, everyone had failed identity validation. So, whenever the fraudster filed the claim, they couldn't answer questions from your background that would cause them to have their identity validated. So none of these claims that we have found so far are actually paying out. Now, right now, because of the change in the Bank of America cards versus the paper check issue, all of these claims are being set up they're attempting to get them on the prepaid cards. The paper checks would go to your home address. So if for some reason one slipped through, if mine had slipped through and actually been approved, the paper check would have come to my address. I would return that to UI to make sure that they know that you've gotten it. You definitely don't want to spend it, but in 99% of the cases, at least, if not 100%, no money is actually going out on these claims. What they're doing is jamming up the system, and they are making it harder for the legitimate claims to get processed because we have to dig through all of the chaff to get to the wheat of the good claims. Now, what individuals can do is obviously report those fraudulent claims, but you might want to check with your credit bureau, just like any time that there might have been a hack or identity fraud, because it means that your Social Security number has been bought out there somewhere on the web and sold to a fraudster. So you definitely do need, if you get one of those letters, check into your own accounts and make sure everything's okay.
Well, and that actually brought up the really good point that it shows you that a lot of the numbers, when you say, are there 85,000 claims out there, aren't real people. There's a lot of fraud in that. And the denials that are going out are going to help us get to real people faster, so that the person working that day doesn't pick up the first claim and it's an identity issue, spend time trying to contact somebody that hadn't been answering for months and doesn't exist, as we're seeing now. So I do think that this is going to help us to be better. And for someone out there who, for some reason, just hadn't been able to confirm their identity, this is going to give them that appeal process where they can get things right. So we believe that it's going to be a significant help. Tom Latek from Kentucky Today.
Good afternoon, Governor. My first question, and then what Amy's comments have just sparked another one real quick. First of all, Franklin County had been behaving really well through this pandemic until the last week or two, when it's been among the top counties in the state in incidents. Now, I believe there was a minor outbreak at the jail, but is there another outbreak or something that's causing the numbers to spike so much here in Franklin County? And then secondly, for Amy, if your name comes up as entered fraudulently, and you send the thing back, the check back, let's say, should one be issued, if you in the future have to file for unemployment, is that going to make things really difficult for you to be able to file?
On the second question, it shouldn't, because when you file, you will be providing those identification documents that the system ought to recognize, and we're working real hard to get a new system that'll do it better. I don't think it should cause you any harm in the future. The one for Amy was done under her name. What we're also seeing is random names to real people's addresses, and I think that's what the individual who had talked to Karen had seen. And then the first question was, Franklin County. I believe part of it could be the outbreak in the jail. Part of it could be a little more community transmission than we've seen. Certainly, we had a number of sports teams that were quarantined, high school here. We'll have to watch the numbers over the coming days, but even when cases are going down, what we see is a county can have a spike, and they happen all over Kentucky. We are not seeing them necessarily sustained over 3 or 4 weeks right now. But I think if we look back in time, we'd see this happening in other counties at different times. So I don't think it's cause for alarm yet, but it is a reminder that if it's hot in Franklin County right now, wear your mask, engage in social distancing, ensure we're doing this correctly. Chad Hedrick from WKYT. Okay, John Boyle from WFPL.
Hello, Governor. This is something that you've touched on quite a bit, really for a while now. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on it again. We're seeing some efforts to limit executive powers from governors just throughout the region, not only here in Kentucky, but in Indiana and Ohio as well, I believe. So I just wanted to ask you again and hear your thoughts on what you see as the potential pitfalls of moving to a system that would require the legislative body to enact certain emergency restrictions.
We are in an emergency, and in an emergency, you've got to move fast, you got to be fluid, and you got to adjust to battlefield conditions. You know, when you look at the losses we've sustained, we're fighting a war. We've almost lost 4,000 Kentuckians, and you never fight a war by committee, and we can't fight this one either. You know, being governor also in this instance and in emergencies can sometimes give you the little extra freedom to do something that we need to do, even if it is unpopular. And I think that we've seen that the access to resources. We have a Department for Public Health. The legislature doesn't have that. The White House works directly with us. They don't necessarily reach out to legislatures. The scientific community, again, sending us information each and every day. It'd be really hard to do in a system that is not centralized. I have talked to the governors of Ohio and Indiana. We all agree that this is a really bad idea. And we all agree, based on our experience, that we would not have the strong public health policy that we need, and that in the end, our economies would suffer, because what we've learned is the ability for our economy to continue to operate, and then what it'll look like in the future, depends on wise management of this virus. And here in Kentucky, the steps that have been taken absolutely will cost lives. And so I hope that everybody can take a breath. I hope that they'll reread the Kentucky Supreme Court case, which I believe talks about this being an executive function for a governor. Realize that the Constitution only creates one commander-in-chief, and that in a time of emergency, that's what we need. Now, at the end of the day, these are tough decisions, and these are hard decisions. I'm willing to make them. It's a lot harder to have over 100 people have to come to the same right, difficult decision, and people's lives depend on it. Sarah Ladd from the Courier-Journal.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Regarding the regional sites and even non-regional sites, can you provide any information about any possible state efforts to help people who don't have access maybe to transportation and can't get to a location despite being eligible for a dose? Thanks so much.
We'll have more information on that in the coming weeks that involve mobile units that we're working on right now, and that we hope will be launched in at least one location as early as next week. We got local health departments that are already doing some of that. Our long-term care program is going to start getting into other senior living and other care programs, areas, group homes for adults and children with disabilities and others. Again, harder to reach populations. This is where our local groups and pharmacies and health departments are truly all-stars, and where they can offer so much in protecting people that need it, and we all need it, but also getting us to herd immunity. You know, you look at other areas where they may have a large Mennonite or Amish population, and the trust there with those or with the health departments, or again, other community leaders. So we'll be able to talk more about some of the larger targeted activities here in the coming week, but they're also going on all over the Commonwealth in really amazing ways. And we'll reach out to our health departments to get some of those stories and feedback. I mean, I'm I'm thinking about a story early on when we were having to publish guidelines that we're all living with right now about health department officials going out to some of these communities, talking about COVID with our Amish, Mennonite, and other populations, and what good work they do, and how important they are that they've built that confidence over time. John Charlton from WHAS. Pretty sure this one's for you, Amy.
Sorry about that, Governor. Okay. I was finding the unmute button. This might be actually more along your lines. Well, probably Amy as well. Is the state in negotiations or looking at hiring or contracting with an outside company that specializes in ID theft to try to tackle this fraud issue?
Let's head over to Amy. I do think the step we're taking right now is going to address a whole lot of it. But Amy?
We actually have several things that we use to try to prevent the fraud. First, we have a product that we've talked about a lot, that ID verification, that is really pretty difficult. It goes back through your credit history, and it might ask you something like, what was the color of the car you drove in 1999? And if you fail something like 1 out of the 5 questions you get when you apply, it throws a flag on your claim. And that's what's happening with these fraudulent claims. So even though we have a lot of these claims, they're getting hung up. On top of that, we have 3 or 4 different computer programs that run cross matches to try to catch fraud. So those run in the background too. And we're looking at possibly another program on top of it and beefing up our staff to process what we get from those programs and pull the fraudulent claims out. So there's a lot of layers here, but the good news is our ID validation is working and is catching those claims. We just have to then close them out once we've caught them.
And I think it's fair to say that we left them on the books too long, and it wasn't intentional. It was just so much work to be done and focusing on claims. But I think we're at the point now where we realize that we can get through more claims if we aren't sorting through ones that we now are relatively confident are fraudulent. Michael Cadigan from Spectrum News.
Good evening, Governor. The American Psychological Association says that addressing stress should be a part of the COVID recovery plan. Is the state working towards addressing the mental health aspect of the pandemic?
We're not working on it enough. It is a real challenge that we've all faced, and we're going to have to look at what more we can do. Our Cabinet for Health and Family Services, especially early on, we were working to get the tools out there. We've probably all been through this so long that sometimes we're not pushing out tools to help people on the mental health side enough. So, we're going to redouble our efforts there. It's been hard. It's been hard on all of us, and we do need to be more vocal about the tools that are out there to help. We need to continue to fund mental health services in our schools and available to our students. I was watching my kids in virtual Sunday school, and just the ability to talk about their challenges and the stresses they face, and how important that is, and also how helpful it is in their lives. Melissa Patrick from Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. I look forward to hearing, in response to Sarah Ladd's question, maybe some of the things the state might do to help with transportation issues. Those are huge in our state. But anyway, my questions have followed. The Herald reported that there Walmart's going to be giving vaccines. And I didn't hear Dr. Stack. I was wondering if that's part of the federal pharmacy program. And then the second question is, you've said the long-term care program will move to other facilities. And so what facilities are next? And is that has that been part of the long-term plan all along?
So on the second piece, it hasn't been a part of the long-term care all along, but the federal government is opening up the ways that we can use it. And so we're looking at senior living facilities that aren't the licensed long-term care facilities that fall into assisted living and skilled nursing homes. It's also, we have a number of group homes and centers for children and adult with disabilities, but we'll get you a full rundown of that at the beginning of next week from Adam Mather. We are finalizing what that program will look like, and I believe that it will start next week. The other piece of the question was on the Walmarts. That was part of our K through 12 program. I think it just got confused, but in certain areas, they were the providers that agreed to vaccinate the school personnel. That is going well. Again, I think we will be the very first state to vaccinate our educators, and there were more than 2 experts today that were on television saying, yes, what the CDC says is important, but the fastest and best way to get there and to reopen schools in a meaningful way is to vaccinate educators. And we're seeing other states like Ohio and others follow suit. So we're excited for that day that our kids get to see each other and their teachers a whole lot more. Christian Hauser from Local 12.
Hey, sir, thank you very much for taking my question. I actually have 2 of them, if you don't mind. The first is regarding the vaccination centers. We're up here in Northern Kentucky. With it only being open 3 days and anticipated 2,000 doses, will that open up again in a few more weeks when those folks are due for their second dose? And then my second question is regarding child care workers. We've had a lot of them reach out upset that they must wait to get vaccinated. Can you talk about why they're not being prioritized with teachers or in the next group tier, given that they do a very similar job with similar risks, and sometimes it's even higher given that the children they watch are too young to wear a mask?
On the first piece, those are the days that it will operate every week moving forward. So it's not just a couple of days. It's that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If those were the dates, can you pull that up? The Northern Kentucky. And so, yes, people will be able to be scheduled for 3 weeks or 4 weeks later to get their booster. And as supplies increase, we'll be able to do more on those days. And we hope at some point to expand. I want our child care workers out there to know we understand their anxiety. We understand how badly they want to get vaccinated. Right now, we are working to get through our adults 70 years and older. They are one of the highest risk groups, and we're working as fast as we can to get through them. We haven't yet set any priorities within 1C or made a decision about that. Remember, there are lots of essential folks, and child care workers are absolutely essential in 1C. There are adults 65 and older that also face higher risks. There are our grocery store workers who have been absolutely necessary during this pandemic. There's those that work in our mortuary services that are trying to provide an experience for those who are mourning and in and of themselves are placed at risk too. There's as you look through, there's our clergy. Our clergy falls in 1C, and think about the visits they make to hospitals and to people's homes and trying to be there for folks. So I get it. And yes, child care workers are essential and wonderful, and I want them to feel supported. We need to get through 1B. We'll see about other decisions in 1C, but this is the challenge of supply, of only having 67 or 68,000 and needing to vaccinate 3 million people, and everyone I believe everyone is essential. Everyone is essential. And it's awful in so many ways about how this raises questions of who's more essential than who for society. And I wish they hadn't gone down that path in many ways. Continue to mask up. We'll continue to have guidelines in place that we believe can protect people, just like we have for daycare and for childcare, that reduce class size, that should reduce risk. We will get to you as fast as we can, and we'll let you know if ultimately we make decisions over prioritizations once we reach 1C. But right now, and at least in the next couple of weeks, individuals over 70. And folks, if you don't fall in that, please don't sign up for one of those slots. But we're getting there. Listen, 10% of our population, really in such an early time frame, in less than a year when this new pandemic hit, we are making progress. And be assured, if they drop 200,000 doses on us tomorrow, we're ready. We are ready to get them out. Our challenge is our supply. And the answer to just about every anxiety out there is, unfortunately, supply. But we're building the infrastructure. We're making real headway. We're getting people their second doses too, and we're making that a priority to get that individual their second dose. So we're going to make it. We're all going to be real nervous between now and when everybody's vaccinated. And we're going to be real nervous with the high number of deaths we have right now. I think we'll see those go down. But we care about all of you. We care about each and every one of you. And we want to get you that vaccine as fast as we can. We'll be back Monday at 4 to provide some updates on, again, the trends that we see through the end of this week. I think it looks like we are going to have our 4th straight week of declining cases, but we got to get all the way through it. Everybody out there, you've been doing a really good job of wearing your mask. You've been doing a really good job following the rules. Let's keep these cases going down. Let's not make a mistake over the Super Bowl and do something where we're going to see that big bump again, because we've seen the loss that comes with it. We are so close. We're going to defeat this thing. And I think we're going to defeat it, and I hope we're going to defeat it in this summer. So everybody out there, hang tight. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it together. We'll see you Monday.